Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Guys, welcome to the Trader Success Podcast. I'm Greg Allen,
I'm Frances Allen.
my wife, and we have a question for us from one of our members. They asked, how do we achieve work-life balance? I find this a very tricky question to answer, but I thought it would be a good one to talk about because it was something we definitely had a lot of fights over.
Yeah.
And we talked about and tried to understand. And, you know, I think it's, especially in the hard times when the pressure is outside of our control and maybe a client's pushing, you know, we've got the situation, we've got kids, we've got whatever's happening in life. It's been challenging to get that formula right.
I think, and even the answers in the question, did you achieve the balance? I mean, like, how do you achieve balance? Either the balance is there or it's not.
Yeah.
And it's such an ongoing thing, right?
I don't think you ever achieve balance.
It's always work.
Yeah.
You always got to try, and if one thing's too heavier than the other, you're out of balance.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to keep an eye on that balance and keep an eye on the load of either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what I've come to realize around balancing responsibilities within the company structure, like, it's not a seesaw. It's not like you're either there or not there. It's actually like, do you know those balancing discs where you got the fitness ball underneath?
The Buso ball.
The Buso ball with the flat panel with a really wide one though. And you might tilt too much in one direction. It throws everything else in that direction, and you've got to sort of swing it around and try and balance it like that. So it's not a seesaw and a standard seesaw. It's more of that, whoa, there's so many different things that we've got to try and balance. And we've started to spend a bit more time talking around family systems now, which has been really fascinating. And the family systems is just like the responsibilities within a company.
Yeah.
But it's the family systems, which I think we worked through a lot of fights and finally sort of come to some realization of like what's important and, you know, why this needs to be done in a certain way and what shouldn't be done and whatever. But that was, I would say, just hard work, and we didn't really plan that. When now we're sort of retrospectively looking at it, it's interesting.
Yeah, the family systems you're saying. I find it like, I mean, when we were like, you were growing the business and we had kids and everything was happening, it was like when you're in the middle of a tornado and a storm and everything is crazy and you don't really know which way to go. And then I think for us, like, as time went on, the business stabilized, our kids got older, and we were able to see a lot more clarity. And then I started learning about this family system stuff, which is super interesting because it was also like, it's a lot like systems within a business. So if the ops manager does their jobs right with the scheduling, then the boys are happy and everything can flow properly. But if somebody isn't doing their job description or their role or fulfilling their side of things, then lots of other things within the system can fall apart.
Yeah.
And I can't say that we were like, okay, your dad role is XYZ and my mum role is XYZ, but we were able to be like, okay, generally this is what you're in charge in, and this is what I'm in charge with, and together we'll make sure that those sort of roles and responsibilities are done, and then that has a flow-on effect for the rest of our family and our unit to be able to function well.
Yeah, I think that was the hard part. Is for so long I just assumed I knew what you needed, and I sort of tried my best to put myself on the line. I would, hold the financial struggles to myself. I would hold the emotional struggles to myself, and that's what led me to be crushed like a can.
Yeah. Which is crazy because I could see it happening.
Yeah.
And then you just wouldn't let me in. It was like, what's going on? And I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like you felt like you had to hold the fort and not
to prove,
share that you were struggling.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to share that with me because like I really felt like we needed to be in it together.
Yeah, and it wasn't until I shared that we were able to work on the situation. Like for us, it's become really such a good tool to say, it's not me, it's not you, it's the situation.
It's like the motto of,
it's the motto
of an
our
argument.
family now. Yeah, it's like, if we have an argument now, which we do, like we always have, still, we're very passionate people. We're always like,
working out conflict.
We push ourselves as well, like push ourselves at work, we push ourselves in life, and you push yourself and I push myself. And that, we've got to constantly communicate, because if we don't understand what the pushing has a downstream effect on.
Yeah.
And by communicating sooner, we're able to go, well, this is what I need. How can I make it work? Rather than, just trying to squeeze in what I need, and then it can feel like to you that I'm pushing everyone else.
Yeah.
Prioritizing myself. And so, I think speaking to that, not letting you in, I just wanted to, and I think this is to a lot of the guys out there I speak to as well, in the coaching, they want to build this future for the family. They want to show them that they can do it. And I don't know what it is. I had it too, but you want to prove yourself to your partner. And for me, when I saw you really struggling in those early days of having babies, no sleep, just challenging times in general, I was like, last thing I want to do is add extra pressure on you.
Yeah, right.
And so I would hold it to myself and try and get it all sorted.
Yeah.
And that just led to problems.
And I think you're right. Like, it really led to both of us individually suffering with our own problems. But then through that suffering, we were both very alone in our suffering, which didn't bring us together as a unit.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in other times when we have shared our struggles, it's not like either of us have said, all right, I'm going to scoop you up and fix it. It's like, let's share the struggle together and build together. And I think ultimately that makes relationships stronger, because you're together in those really hard times and sharing what you're going through. And for, I think, a lot of partners, it's this thing like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to save you. But often people don't want saving, and often people know what they need to do to get out of their struggles. They just want to be heard, and they just want to be listened. They just want to be listened to. And I think that's such an effective tool of just listening and validating, that really sucks, to come together as a couple in a relationship and know that you've got each other and you listen to each other and you're in it together as a unit, as a family system, not individually suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think coming back to the question of how do you achieve work-life balance, I feel like the balance part of it is you knowing what I need and me knowing what you need. And it's, if I need to go running or swimming or cycling or triathlon or whatever it is, I've communicated to you that that's what I need, because that makes me feel at my best. And then I need this time at work, or let's just take an example, work's really hard at the moment. I just want to let you know I'm just going to have to work a little bit harder for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And that's going to get us through this. And then I'm going to return back to normal hours in 3 weeks. Is that okay with you? Or what else can we do to make this work?
Yeah. And that's not like I'm going to say, oh yeah, sure, no worries, I'm just going to drop everything and let you have everything.
No.
That's going to be like, okay, now I'm aware of what you need, and I'm going to tell you what I need. Okay, well, in 2 weeks' time, I've got a week's worth of, assignments due. And so when we communicate that of what you need and what I need, then we fix our schedule to make sure that we're both getting, there might be compromise in there, but to make sure that we're both getting what we need out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think by setting that expectation of it's going to be this many weeks, it really pushes you to get it done rather than procrastinate and not take action on what needs to happen.
Yeah, sure.
And that's, my personal experience is going through that. It's like those deadlines are really important.
The 4 o'clock that Kirk always talks about.
The 4 o'clock deadline. We'll talk about that on a different podcast. Maybe that's a deep one. That goes deep. Still have traumatic.
Be home or else.
Yeah, I've still got PTSD from that. So we'll talk about that later. Maybe that will be a question that comes in after this podcast.
Cool. But yeah, keep working on it. Work-life balance.
Communicate. If you both know, and this isn't just with your love partner, but also with people at work, communicate what's expected, communicate what needs to be done for you to achieve a goal.
The sooner you bring it up, the better it is. It might seem like a trivial thing that you're sort of talking about, but things can change and grow and amount, to problems really quickly. So if you say it at the start, oh yeah, this came up today, then at least like it's been raised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know why I'm behaving
Yeah.
like a weirdo.
And you can just be like, oh, maybe that thing was a problem that was mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Cool.
all the other days you act like a weirdo.
Awesome. All right, guys. Hope that helps. See you later.